originally planned for this review to come out to coincide with the release of Sonic Mania, but time restraints meant that it wouldn't have been that good a video. But I still have the footage and another game in the series releasing this year, so here's my review of Sonic Unleashed. Fun fact, Sonic and the Secret Rings was actually the first video game I ever played. Because of that, the series will always have a special place for me, and back in the day, I remember calling Unleashed my personal favourite, although I was far from finishing it. A few years on, and now that I've completed it, did it hold up? Well, I've waited a few months to tell you, so let's get on with it. The story begins with Sonic making an attack on Dr. Eggman/Robotnik's fleet of robots in space. It all goes fine and dandy, but uh-oh! As Eggman uses the power of the Chaos Emeralds to shoot a beam that splits the Earth into several pieces, awakening a beast known as Dark Gaia. The after effects of the beam turn Sonic into a werewolf-hedgehog hybrid, aka a Werehog, and is sent plummeting down to Earth. No, he somehow survives the fall and is miraculously okay, but a small imp thing he landed on isn't, as it's lost its memory. Sonic names him Chip and, determined to get his memory back, he joins our hero on an epic, globe-trotting adventure to piece the world back together and defeat Eggman, all while Sonic tries to deal with his new, as well as constantly changing, form. The story has a very Saturday morning cartoon feel to it, and I mean that as a compliment. Though the plot doesn't have any real sense of urgency, I mean yes, the Earth's been split apart, but everyone seems awfully nonchalant about it. It doesn't take itself too seriously and instead gives us some entertaining characters. Sonic's a likeable enough lead, and Chip is a good companion who might be annoying to some as he provides comedy in the background of certain scenes, but he never got under my skin, and once you get his backstory, it's surprisingly interesting. I actually wish he appeared in more games in the series. As well as our leads, we have Eggman, who's actually a lot of fun to watch, and there's also several side characters like Tails, Amy, and Professor Pickle. I guess my favourite Sonic character. They're all likeable characters, and it makes the story better than it would have been. True, it wouldn't win Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars, but for what it is, it's a good time. Here we go! Seeing as Sonic's the fastest thing alive, or at least claims to be, you'll be sprinting along stages. Well, you will for half of them, as our hero has a new form to deal with. Let's look at the more traditional levels, or as they're better known, the daytime stages, first. These are split into three kinds. First, you have one big stage where you race to the end of the course. There's a bit more to running than I remember, like you can do drifts around corners, fly through rings, etc. It's all very satisfying and lots of fun to sprint along stages. The daytime stages have three types, but they all take place on the same level and are more mini-objectives than anything else. You'll either be collecting a certain number of rings while fighting the time limit, or trying not to hit certain objects. These are okay. Once you get to the end of the level and have missed some coins, then you're screwed, and avoiding objects whilst running at the speed of sound, well, I think that explains my problem with it. But they're not very long, and they do provide somewhat of a challenge, as to be fair, the main stages are pretty easy. Set for the final world. I won't show it to you just in case you haven't played the game yet, but holy crap, that first level had me swearing like a sailor. Yet it was absolutely adrenaline pumping, and the feeling of finally completing that really long level is the kind only video games can provide. Sorry about that ramble. Time to get on with talking about the infamous Werehog stages. These take place at night and see you playing something more akin to 3D platformers with some combat thrown in there for good measure. Most people hate these parts, but to be honest, I like them. They vary up the game, even if they do end up consisting of about 70 to 75% of the whole thing, with the daytime stages becoming a rarity for the middle point of the game, and they can feel clunkier than they actually are because of it. But the Werehog stages are still enjoyable, even if they're not perfect. Sprinting around feels too slippy, like Sonic's running on butter, but as long as you don't make it your primary form of traversal, it's okay. Platforming is basic but fun, with trying to grab onto poles or cliff sides offering minor thrills. Then we get to the combat, which finds our hero facing off against a wave of foes. The system has many subtle nuances that make it a deep and engrossing system to gradually master. Well, who am I kidding? You just swing the Wii remote to nunchuck about like an idiot. To be fair, there's a few different moves for you to do as well as a gauge for you to fill up which can make you extra powerful for a short amount of time. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't good fun to whack enemies with Sonic's extendable arms, but it can also get a little tiring after a while, both figuratively and literally. There's times when it can get quite frustrating, whether it be that you're overwhelmed by enemies, especially these flies that can go burn in hell, or from having to redo sections from scratch. But when these issues aren't, well, issues, the combat is quite satisfying. You also have some fun boss fights, which gets gradually more challenging as the game progresses, as well as a decent mix of both daytime and nighttime stages. They're good fun, as is the rest of the game. Before I reach the conclusion, I want to give a mention to the presentation. This might be a 9-year-old game, but the graphics are impressively detailed, and with a variety of beautiful vistas for you to explore, they're great overall. And even those who don't like Sonic can't deny that they always have great soundtracks, and this is no exception. The orchestral approach really works with the story and fits each level perfectly, not to mention that the Apotos music is hugely nostalgic for me, as is the whole area. But nostalgia isn't what makes this game so enjoyable all these years later. It's a very entertaining adventure that, though not without its flaws, is overall great. It has an enjoyable story and fun gameplay that's presented very well, and if you're open to something a little different, you're not a 90s gamer who needs everything to be exactly as it was back then definitely give this game a purchase, as it's a really good game that scores 84%. I thought the day would never come. Anyway, Sonic's Globetrotting Adventure is one that I have fond memories of, but it still holds up today, and is well worth speeding down to a local game store to pick up a copy.